and thanks for joining us on National Focus. I'm your presenter, Kerdisha St. Louis. Coming up, government acknowledges the impact on sports on development. Ecuador's new ambassador to Dominica presents credentials, and the Education Trust Fund welcomes its first Chinese corporate donor. Stay tuned for details of these and other stories after this.
A lot of bathtubs are blamed for bruises. Some staircases are accused of being responsible for broken bones. Doors are occasionally viewed suspiciously as causing lesions. A high percentage of tables are accused of producing bleeding or trauma. Violence against women is a crime, and it's everyone's responsibility. It's inexcusable. If you're a victim or witness of physical or psychological violence or abuse, seek help and denounce the perpetrator.
Thanks for staying with us. The Labour Party government acknowledges the impact of sports on societal development. The nation's sports minister, Honorable Justina Charles, was addressing the closing ceremony of the WICB Regional Women's Super 50 tournament at the Fort Young Hotel on Wednesday.
As a government, we are cognizant of the impact that the sports of cricket has on the Caribbean civilization, on our economy, and as such, we continue to give support to the various cricket activities of the Dominica Cricket Association and the WICB. And this recently held tournament is no exception.
The involvement of women in sports, the minister says, is not overlooked by the government. This is why the Labour Party government is willing and looks forward to working with stakeholders for the further development of sports and women through sports. Honorable Charles says this is easily proven, especially in light of government's most recent steps in that direction.
We are committed towards the holistic development of the individual through sports, and we will stop at nothing in achieving our mission. Our involvement in the recent setting up of the new cricket franchise in Dominica, that is Windward Cricket Inc., is testimony of our commitment to cricket development. As we prepare for a new regional season of cricket and for the new WICB regional competitions, the government of Dominica has given office space to the new franchise, which will be based on Dominica, and through the National Employment Program, will be providing secretarial staff to this new franchise.
Additionally, the Finance Minister's 2014-2015 national budget makes allocations for $1.6 million for sports development, which includes the construction of an indoor sporting facility in Stock Farm and a recreational facility in Roseau. This is another demonstration of the government's commitment to youth and societal development through sports. In other news, His Excellency Dr. Galo Yapez Holguin is Ecuador's new ambassador to Dominica. The ambassador presented his credentials to Dominica's head of state, His Excellency Charles Saver, during a ceremony at the State House on Wednesday.
My country considers this step as the beginning of a new era of mutual understanding. The President, Rafael Correa, sends to His Excellency his message of brotherhood and friendship. He believes that the Caribbean and the Latin American countries must stay strongly united to face all the new challenges of the 21st century, such as extreme poverty, transnational crime, absence of education, racial and gender discrimination, among others. In this way, the South-South cooperation will help to strengthen ties between two developed countries that think the international relationship must change. This is the main reason of my presence here today. Together we will work to increase our general nexus in political, economic, cultural, and social fields.
President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Saver, has high expectations of the growing relations between Dominica and Ecuador.
It is my expectation that during your tenure, it may be possible to explore avenues of such cooperation and political dialogue, and to discuss the status of trade integration between CARICOM, member states, and Ecuador. The potential for cooperation in sectors such as tourism, mining, agricultural research, fishing, flower production, among others, can also be discussed.
The governments of Dominica and Ecuador established diplomatic relations in 2009. Dominica has moved one step further in its Chinese relationship. Chinese businessman in Dominica, Zhu Zhongjua, has made a record for being the first Chinese businessman to make a donation to the Education Trust Fund, ETF. ETF Director David Phillip received a total of $5,000 from the Chinese businessman yesterday afternoon at the Zhongjua's business place at the Canefield Industrial Site.
In these 2 years, after having listened to me about my bid to get funding into the Education Trust Fund, Mr. Zhou has been very kind in making sure that a few days ago to contribute $2,000 to the Education Trust Fund. He is, as I said, the first Chinese person to make such a contribution to the Education Trust Fund. We are very grateful and very happy for his commitment, his contribution, his concern, moreover, because it takes that before he can even decide to make the contribution as he did. Today, after listening to me a little bit more, Mr. Zhou has decided to give $3,000 more.
This timely donation comes on the heels of a press conference held in May this year, where the ETF stressed on the importance of corporate citizens' involvement in supporting the fund. According to Philip, it is time to embrace Dominica's Chinese population into this aspect of community activities.
Thank you for gentlemen and ladies for coming. We are very happy and support to secondary school students because education is important to students. So I will still for every year.
So he's saying he's willing to contribute every year to the Education Trust Fund.
Zhongjua pledged his commitment to the ETF's cause.
I recognize that in Dominica at this present time, there are many Chinese-owned enterprises, and since they have become part of the community, we cannot avoid them in terms of the participation. Of course, the more that they participate with our communities, the more the community supports them in their businesses because they realize that it's not only that they come to take something, but they give something back.
The Education Trust Fund provides assistance to secondary school students in obtaining textbooks and uniforms. The fund sometimes also sponsors the cost of CSEC examination fees. As part of its week of activities, the 7th Annual Nature Island Literary Festival will feature The Ruler, a play written by Dominican playwright, cultural administrator, and event coordinator Owen Bully. In an exclusive interview on Thursday, Bully divulged the story behind the play.
And Haruna was written by a Vincentian, Mr. G.C.H. Thomas, and it was published in 1972. And immediately it had tremendous impact in the Caribbean. I was a young man at the time, and when I read it, I said, wow, this is a novel which needs to be read by everybody in the Caribbean. But maybe the easiest way to do that is to put it into the form of a play. Because as you know, everybody doesn't have time to read and that type of thing. So I said, if I can get it out to the public via theater, then I think I'll be doing the book a good service as well as a service to the people of Dominica and the Caribbean.
Bully described The Ruler as a play that is not easy but worthwhile.
The Ruler is in fact a challenging play for actors, especially for the lead actor. The lead actor who plays the Chief Minister, Jerry Mole, is on stage most of the time, and the play is approximately 3 hours long. So to be on stage, in fact he's on stage for every scene except one. So it is a challenge to learn the lines and to maintain the character and see the character growing, changing, reaching a certain point, and then the fall of the character. So to do that properly takes time and experience, and rehearsal periods have to be long and late into the night. So these days where volunteerism is not as popular as it used to be, it hasn't been easy to pull a cast together, and over the last 8 weeks we did many changes. We had to ask other people to step in for others, that type of thing. But eventually we settled down to what I think is an excellent cast. made up of some of the former members of PAT, and people who were in the 1976 production have come back, and then some young talent, some new talent, which we're training. I hope this will be a good experience for them, that they will get even more interested in theater and stick with it.
The Ruler is portrayed as a play which can relate to any society at any time in history.
The play itself, The Rulers, formed part of a series of plays which we did in the 70s, and all of them had very strong social content, looking at improved ways of living, improved ways of governing ourselves. It was heading up towards statehood, associated statehood status, and then we moved from that into independence. So it was a period of a lot of excitement and hope and anticipation that the independence was going to bring us change and that we'd be masters of our own destiny. Of course, we didn't realize that the world doesn't work that way, and we still have to be dependent on other countries. But this is what the play basically was looking at: our past, what kind of mistakes were made in the past, in order to prepare us for the future. But having said that, it's a play which is relevant at any particular time, in any place, in any country. And that's why I think it has been selected for its translation into 5 languages by a French company, because they feel it needs to speak to even more people who would understand its message.
Savre Mackenzie, who was a member of the People's Action Theatre, who first performed the play in 1976, says that the selection of The Ruler as part of the Nature Island Literary Festival was an exceptional choice.
I think the selection of Ruler for this year's literary festival was a perfect, a real perfect choice, because it's a play that has a combination of drama, dance, calypso, steel band, So you have all these combinations coming together and making it a real complete theatrical performance.
The Ruler will be performed at the Arawak House of Culture on the 15th and 16th of August at a cost of $30. GIS News will bring you more on that story in a subsequent newscast. And finally, this news time, the Ministry of Health on Monday welcomed a 10-man Chinese ophthalmology team on the island to perform free cataract surgeries to Dominicans from August 11th to 22nd. Surgeries are being performed on patients at the Princess Margaret Hospital with the support and collaboration of the island's ophthalmology team headed by Dr. Hazel Shillingford-Ricketts, consultant ophthalmologist. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Helen Royer, highlighted that this is a result of the meaningful friendship between the governments of Dominica and the People's Republic of China.
We have had quite a bit of support from the Chinese in the past in different areas of health through the donation of equipment and support of staff. And this time we are having an ophthalmology team. We actually have on island 3 ophthalmologists, 3 nurses, 1 ophthalmology engineer, a program officer, an interpreter, and an anesthetician. We also have, in collaboration to the Chinese team, we have our own ophthalmology team headed by Dr. Hazel Shillingford, who is our ophthalmology consultant, and with her team working vis-a-vis the Chinese team.
All eye care equipment being used will be donated to the government of Dominica at the end of the mission. The Permanent Secretary provided further insight on this mission.
They came sometimes in May. They wanted to start off this mission, which I think they're doing in other countries where they have diplomatic relations, and Dominica was selected as one of these countries. And in May they had to postpone because they had some difficulties. Part of the mission here also is not just the provision of surgical cataract surgeries, but they also brought some high-tech, up-to-date equipment, which they have intended to leave for us in the Ministry of Health. So we're very elated.
Royer noted that about 95 cataract patients from across the island were recommended by the ophthalmologist to undergo priority surgery for this mission.
We have had a long list of persons needed cataract surgery, and the consultant would have known the persons that were of priority for this mission. And actually, these persons were pre-selected based on the level of urgency and level of need. and we would not want other persons to be crowding the PMH at this time, because the persons were already selected based on the need and the priority. So they will be here up till the 22nd. They actually are working from Mondays to Fridays, but it is not open to the public. It's just a few selected persons. They're supposed to see about 95 patients who are of high priority at this time.
On that note, the Ministry of Health wishes to further advise the general public that the Chinese eye care mission team presently in Dominica will only be treating cataract patients who have been selected by the ophthalmologist consultant, Dr. Hazel Shillingford-Ricketts, for this mission. No other surgeries will be performed. All are asked to take note. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, ça fait technologie autant important pour nous faire travail à eux, spécialement en temps moderne cela. Parole cela sorti au coordinateur service NOS, l'hôpital Princess Margaret, Deborah Philip, pendant traitement qui prend place à NOS, qu'a concerné CPR, ça c'est manière resuscitation, monde qui en distrait.
En temps avant, il tenait certains bitens qui fait en certaine manière, mais actuellement la terre a changé, et les bitens neuf qui viennent actuellement. Même quand chaque monde ni cellulaire phone, mais ni cellulaire phone qui ni internet en l'air, et vont on ça pour cellulaire phone et ça en l'air, regarder qui manière pour ça faire qui bitin. En temps avant il pas tenir ça. Même bitin manière qu'on fait CPR là présent, juste ça aussi qui changé. En temps avant, il était dans différentes manières, après ça il y a différentes manières qu'a fait, et c'est bien important pour nous ça toujours fait quoi yo available pour bitin qui a changé, ça nous a fait hier, nous pas fait actuellement pour ces nos la connaître ça. C'est ça qui fait bien important pour nous ça participer en disant ça nous qui continuing education pour se apprendre ça qui a fait actuellement vis-à-vis ça qui a fait avant, comment bitin a fait avant avec comment bitin a fait actuellement. C'est bien important.
En autre nouvelle, une délégation 10 docteurs et People's Republic of China arrivé en pays pour traiter les gens qui ont cataracte en yeux. La délégation là arrivé ici semaine passée et puis ils ont commencé à faire l'opération à ces gens et puis ça commencé lundi et puis il est allé juste le 22 août l'année là. C'est l'opération là qui prend place à l'hôpital Princess Margaret et puis c'est pour Dr. GIS Dominica Hazel Shillingford-Ricketts. Après 95 personnes tout le monde à pays là, tu reçu recommandation de Dr. Ricketts pour opérer. Il y a une parole qui sortit du ministre Santé dit que tous ces équipements-là, ces docteurs-là servi, qui restent en la main gouvernement, les missions là finies. Dominique bien plaisir pour continuer à taper assistance à la People's Republic of China. Finalement, ça fait qu'à concerner quarantine, sorti une recommandation meeting officiel quarantine qui prend place en Cayman Islands. Chef département quarantine Dominique Ryan Ansem représenté Dominique en meeting cela.
Nous adopter mesures pour nous goumer contre Black Sigatoka, mesures pour nous goumer contre maladie qui affecte coco nous, avec pam nous, avec yon CBT en Giant African Snail. So meeting now présent, ça a un bon succès avec nous. Pas de travail pour faire en région, avec pour nous pêcher maladie montrer, avec nous qui joignent en Suriname aussi. Pour nous faire une présentation, recommandation en bitin hôtel qui a fait place en Suriname dans les salles.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Au revoir.
Coming up next, tips to stay active at work.
DOWASCO recognizes that clean water is vital to healthy living. Therefore, it spares no effort in providing a clean, safe, and reliable system. Help keep our rivers safe and clean. Do not cut trees along the river banks and do not pollute with garbage, human or animal feces, and chemicals. Think water, think life.
In many workplace settings, finding ways to stay active throughout the day can be challenging. However, even if you spend most of your time behind the desk, there are ways you can incorporate some mild physical activity into your daily office routine. Tip 1. Don't sit during your entire lunch break. Go outside and take a short walk. Tip 2. Don't save yourself trips. Rather than calling your colleague down the hall or sending them an email, get up and walk over to his or her office. Tip 3. Tag along for the snack break. Taking a stroll with some of your coworkers to the local convenience store is a quick and easy way to incorporate some more physical activity into your day. And finally, tip 4. Say no to the elevator. Make it a habit to start taking the stairs instead. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Kerdisha St. Louis. Thanks for watching.